What's up, guys? Today I'm going to break down exactly how we do research in-house and how we train creative strategists to do research for us. Super powerful, super valuable thing. I'm going to give you the exact SOP, everything you need to keep in mind. I'm not going to waste your time, so let's get right into it. Basically, I structured this whole thing in 3 different categories. First of all, obviously the ad account audit, because that's going to give us the most accurate, newest, most actual data that we can then just really use to, for the, scripting and ideation, everything that comes after that. Then obviously research in terms of competitors. So specific competitor research that we can use in order to, for example, shift away from like completely being crazy and trying to reinvent the wheel to actual proof of concepts and ideations. And then obviously research based off of our own customers to find out which objections and which things kind of they struggle with in order to make the experience better and to overall kind of, make the whole thing just enhance everything. Okay. So I'm going to start with the ad account audit here, which I kind of structured in 3 different steps. And so what we want to do is we want to look at the ad account, and then within the ad account, we directly want to break down every past hook test that we've done, every fatigued winning ad that we've ever had, every rejected ad that we've had, every current ad, that is winning, that is doing well, obviously that is profitably, individually spending at least like $200 a day in its own unique ad set, not in some, like CBO or whatever. And then obviously, then it's like we want to find out how much are they winning. So you gotta have to get out of this, like 0 or 1, yes or no type of thinking of okay, winning or losing. No, it's actually how much is it winning? What exactly is working about it? And so what you're gonna do then is you're gonna make 2 new spreadsheets, right? So you're gonna want to start 2 spreadsheets essentially. And then one of them has the winning variables on it, and one of them the losing ones. And so the winning variables spreadsheet is essentially a spreadsheet where you put on every single thing about the ad that basically worked, that did well, everything that got a good metric, and then how much exactly in terms of ad spend did it hold. Now into the losing variable, it's going to be the exact same thing, but you're going to do stuff in here. Now you're going to put stuff in here that basically either didn't get any spend if it's like a CBO without a minimum spend, or just like did get spend and just performed terribly. And so you want also here add in basically that it couldn't hold any spend, and specifically, for example, what metric went wrong. And so that's always what you got to then diversify. And so the reason we also do a separate losing variables spreadsheet is because if you give this to AI, right? So let's say you upload literally your entire losing variable spreadsheet, and then the new ideation that you've made or the creative strategist made, and then you're going to just look at it, basically ask AI, hey, have I tested any of these variables before? So like you want to find out, have I repeated any of my mistakes again? Because after some point, right, at some point it's going to get super hard to keep track of every single variable that you've ever tested in the entire brand history. And so you want to have some type of system of not repeating your mistakes and learning out of them. And what better way is there to do so with a separate spreadsheet, and obviously separate prompts for that. Okay, so that is super important. Now the other thing, step number 2 of what you're going to look at when it comes to the ad account audit is you're going to check out how well has the brand done to create a diversity so far. Okay, so how many different concepts are running right now? What's the number of different concepts that have been tested in the past, right? Let's say in the past 2 months. How long ago was the last hook test, right? You're gonna basically take a look at the hit rate reports and see what's been going on there. Then you're going to check out the creative volume reports, all these different things. And so the reason why we want to check these things out is because we want to obviously find out what is the goal of research, right? Which concepts do we optimize towards, and then which metrics to fix first. And step number 3 of the ad account audit is essentially you look at the creator breakdowns, right? Then at recent CPM changes and, for example, ad account issues. So these are 3 things that you want to figure out, not because necessarily you want to have like huge impact out of this, piece of information that we learn from here, but you just want to have, it's just good to know. It's just worth it to know before going into the next steps, which would be the ideation and scripting, and then passing it on to the other teams. Okay, so this is really important. Now, when it comes to the ad account audit, it's just one of the 3 basic things that you can do in terms of research, because the second one is actually the most in-depth one, and that is the competitor research. This is actually the thing which I like to spend most of my time in whenever I'm looking at anything, because this is actually what's going to give you the most information. And so whenever, for example, beginners are kind of like struggling to make good ads, usually the biggest problem is they just haven't done enough competitor research. And so the competitor research, you can also separate in 3 different categories, which is the ads library research, or I just called it the ads library research. Obviously, any spy tool falls into this too. Then we have, competitor customers, and then we have the AI deep research. And I want to break down exactly what I mean with each of these. And so when it comes to the ads library research, we want to find out 3 different things. Okay, first of all, which keywords do we look for? Second of all, which KPIs do we look for when it comes to competitors, and when do we take them seriously? And then third of all, what variables can we look at from these competitors, and then kind of what can we learn from them, and what do we track, what don't we track? Okay, so when it comes to the keywords, you always want to combine. You want to combine keywords, meaning the first part of your keyword is always going to be something that is ecom specific. So for example, free shipping, % off, ends today, blah blah blah. So you're just want to go ahead and in the first part of your keyword, basically go ahead and write something ecom specific. So how this is going to look like, I'll give you an example. Let's say you look in the ads library, and so type in free shipping, and then you use this pipe sign here, and then the second part is actually what we're going to look at next, right? So this is going to be the next part. This is how you combine keywords in the ads library. And so the second, third, whatever, how many you want, basically part of the keyword is going to be, and basically this is super interesting because this you can also diversify into 4 different categories. We have product keywords, we have mechanism keywords, we have problem keywords, and then we have outcome keywords. And so each of these, I've given a couple examples here for each, right? All the same product pretty much. It's like protein powder or protein shakes or whatever. And so you can just basically go ahead and for product keywords, look for protein powder, protein, amino acid, protein shakes, anything surface level that is a pretty aware keyword, because these are going to be ads or competitors that run ads to very aware markets. Usually often found more for products like protein powder, for example, that have a very aware market already. However, if no one knows about your product in the first place, you're going to find fewer competitors with this keyword, with this type of keyword. Then we have the mechanism keyword, which is obviously, something which is, an ingredient, or for example, it can be something kind of like that describes the process of, getting to the outcome. And so BCAAs, leucine, glutamine, arginine. So these are all like examples for ingredients in this case, but this is pretty much what the mechanism keyword. So how does that actually function, the product? What is behind the product? Then we have problem keywords. This is where you're going to probably find most competitors. And so we have overweight, we have hard gainer, skinny fat, lose weight, all these that are essentially just describing the problem that you solve. And then obviously also we have the outcome keywords. So we have like beach body, six pack, confident, lean muscle, and whatnot. So this is really the outcome of it. Now, when it comes to the second point here, which is the competitor KPI. So once we have like our keywords that we want to look for, you're essentially going to break down which KPIs, or we want to know what we actually look for and when we start taking competitors seriously. So one of the things that you're going to do is when you start doing research on the ads library, you're going to go back in time when it comes to how long should an ad be active for. So obviously one of the filters is going to be active ads. You're only going to look at ads that are still active to this day. However, when it comes to the date filter, you're going to go back a couple months. And so for example, you're going to go back 1 to 2 months. And so for brands that are basically, you find that come up that only go back 1 to 2 months, you're going to look at, around from minimum 1K page likes and 50 active ads. So you have to be like a little bit more tolerant with smaller brands. This is going to be the small brand research. And then obviously you want to have one of the ads of theirs that you want to take inspiration in that has at least 2 ad sets basically that you're using that creative. Okay, so at least a little scale should be in that already. Okay. Now, 3 to 6 months. So if you go back 3 to 6 months, obviously you already want to have bigger competitors here, because these are, once again, ads that have been launched 3 to 6 months ago, but are still active to this day. Okay, so we want to look for at least 10,000 page likes and at least 100 active ads. And so at least one of the ads should be used basically by at least like 5 different ad sets. Okay, very important. And for any brand that you find by doing research from over 6 months back, you're going to look for at least 300 active ads and at least 10 to 20 ad sets that are using one of the same creatives. Okay, very important. Now, when you then validated, and found and validated which competitors you want to look at, then you're going to start another spreadsheet, like we said before, and then this time you're actually going to start tracking specific different types of keywords, and for example, also specific different types of variables that you want to write down. So it's like the more important ones are up here. So for example, we have the hook awareness, we have the visual hook type, we have the most common ad concept, is it a UGC, is it a VSL, like what types of static concepts do they use, and what's the most common one, actually count them. And then obviously we have the avatar total addressable market. So are they speaking to everyone? Are they niching down on a specific avatar? All of these things you want to write down. These are the high impact, high leverage things. And then for the more specific tests, we actually, kind of write down more variables for editing and design. So it's like pacing. Do we have a price reveal? Do we have urgency? In what ways? Do we have an effort framing, which is like kind of preparing them of how much work they'll have to put in, how long are their ads, etc., etc. Okay. So second type of research you're going to do is the competitor customer research, okay? And so what you want to look at first is, do you have something called an ICP overlap? And so this is specifically to segment the brands into different categories. So obviously there's the big brands overall. And so this should be in every single person's creative inspiration folder, just a couple of huge brands that you're just looking at overall to get a better understanding of what exactly is working right now. Then you're going to do the same thing for the same niche that you're operating in. Then you're going to do a mid-sized competitor in the same niche, and for example, a little bit of a different product. And then you want to look for as many direct competitors who are selling the exact same product or ingredient as you. Okay, that's really important. And so I'm not going to just tell you to do some random, read reviews or read Reddit posts or something like that. But obviously there's a lot more to it. And so you're going to look at, for example, their job posts, right? You can learn a lot from those. So for example, if you look at their forms or, their questions and requirements, what do they say? What are the requirements? What kind of stuff are they optimizing towards? Okay. What kind of hours do they work? And all these things tell a lot about the brand and tell a lot also about the creative strategy. And we have the IG follows. So you look at the Instagram profiles that the brand account is following, and then you're gonna basically break down, okay, which UGC creator profiles are they following? What's in their story highlights? Kind of try to describe their avatar. And this basically try to just break down like who exactly fits into their ICP. And then third of all, we actually have the review mining process. You're going to look at mostly Amazon, obviously Trustpilot as well. You can learn a lot from Trustpilot, and then the good old Reddit, right? Nothing against that. And so when it comes to, competitor customer analysis, you want to understand in what ways are they changing the three core beliefs. So the three beliefs overall in every ad are always, first of all, the problem belief, which is essentially trying to break down, how do they get people from not thinking they have a problem to actually believing that they have a problem? How do they do that? What types of things do they mention? What types of other competitors do they discredit? Basically, how does the problem section in their ads look like? Then we have the ego belief. So how do they basically make people think, okay, I'm already doing stuff to solve this problem. Get them from there to bring them towards, okay, whatever I'm doing right now is not going to work, and I'm open for new solutions, right? How are they doing that? And then belief number 3 is the Amazon belief, which I like to call it, which is essentially how do they get people from thinking, let me just go ahead and hop off and buy this from Amazon, to actually this is the competitor that I need this from. All these 3 core beliefs are super important to change properly, and all of these require a very in-depth understanding in the avatar. And so if you know exactly what you look for and what you do research after, then this is going to be significantly boosting the speed and the pace of how quickly you can actually understand all these important things that you're looking for as the person doing the research, okay? Now, when it comes to AI deep research, this is not that in-depth here, but I still want to kind of break it down because there's 3 certain things that you just don't want to waste your time on yourself, and super valuable to have this in like pages and pages worth of documents, okay? So the first thing is obviously for every single thing that you do research in with AI, try to write a prompt for the prompt first. And so basically you're going to give a prompt, you give ChatGPT a prompt, for example, that, creates a prompt for the deep research, let's say, and then you're going to throw that back into it, and then it's actually going to give you so much of a better output. It's insane, right? Second thing is actually the language and / quotes, okay? So how are the people speaking, right? What are customer quotes and beliefs that they think in order to, what beliefs do you have to change in that case? And then obviously the churn signals. So what are things that, made people from basically competitors, customers churn out in the past? That's going to be a lot of it is going to be in reviews, pages and pages worth of reviews. And obviously you don't want to do all that yourself, because that would kind of be a waste of your time, and you can get AI to do that really, really well for you. Okay. And then obviously, last but not least, obviously you want to kind of do a lot of research into your own customers. And so that's going to look like this, right? 3 different parts. Once again, we start with the goal of the research. This is actually super important, super valuable, because you want to look at these 4 different things, for example, but there's a lot more. Obviously, what are loyalty drivers? So what are the things that make people stay longer? What are risk of churn, right? So you just want to notice patterns, right? So when you're doing research in these things, you want to just find out, okay, what types of things have I done and showed them that led to higher churn, right? What are things that I showed them that led to higher loyalty? Customer knowledge. So how much can I actually expect them to already know? Let's say awareness stage is solution aware, cool, but there's probably 100 other solutions that they could have tried in the past. So it's like, how many of those 100 do they already know, and have they already tried? Okay, so that's the customer knowledge, and it's actually a different thing than the customer awareness stage, which is also a separate, super important thing. And so then you're going to start segmenting your customers. Before you send out any survey and stuff like that, you're actually going to want to, categorize your customers in different, really different types. And so you have high spending, you have low spending, you have loyal, and then you have new to brand. And so what you're going to do is you're going to send out the most important, you're going to actually take the best, the most, I would say, information out of the, both up here, meaning high spending and loyal, but you're also going to learn a lot from low spending, new to brand. The only thing like you don't really learn a lot of is low spending, loyal, and high spending, new to brand. These are obviously super valuable customers too, but the most important ones are really the top layer here or the bottom layer here. This is really important. And so whenever you have the customers segmented and you know exactly what to look for, then you're going to do these 3 things, right? You're going to obviously send out surveys and kind of make it enticing for them to fill it out. So you're going to give obviously some type of bonus, some discount code, some free gift, something, right, to actually fill that out. And so these are a lot more thought through answers that you're going to get here. Now, another thing which I like to do is actually a cheat code for pretty much all ecom brands out there is actually calling your customers. Try to call them. Try to just call them up maybe 100 times, 100 of them, and then you're just going to look, what do they say? You just ask them questions that you need about the avatar, right? For example, what other competitors have you tried in the past, right? So what led to, basically you switching to us? And so, for example, are you still using our product? Are you liking it? What is missing, right? So all these things that are fears and very spontaneous and answers that you're going to get on the phone is a lot more valuable oftentimes than the surveys. And then obviously you're going to wait for the reviews and obviously go through every single one of your real reviews and learn a lot from those. But this is pretty much how to do research. Now, a very quick video, but I hope you could learn a thing or two. If yes, go ahead and write your main takeaway into the comments below. I'm going to say thank you so much for giving me your most important asset, which is your attention. Once again, thank you so much. I wish you a beautiful day.